Is there a wall between who you are now and who you want to be? You're in the right place. Hey, my name is Monica. Welcome to Flow State Freak podcast, where we cover the best practices and concepts to flow over that wall. Create lasting change and discover your formulas for happiness and success right now. Live a life true to yourself and not the life others expect of you. Have I got something special and fun for you today? This is the first interview on Flow State Freak podcast, and actually it's a conversation more than an interview. And this whole conversation came to be because I wanted to talk to Annette and Daniel from Chase for Adventure about what's possible. This is going to be the concept essentially surrounding any interview or conversation where we have guests on this podcast. And I just want to create some amazing examples of what's possible for us in our lives. And if you've listened to episode 2, you understand that this whole podcast exists to give you something more to consume, something that will awaken deeper understandings, to creating life change in any area of your life, and to live a life true to yourself. And Annette and Daniel are the personification of this idea that I have for the Flow State Freak podcast. But I have to say a disclaimer first, and this isn't the disclaimer of, adult language. I don't think we used any adult language in here, but my disclaimer is that this conversation has some fun and silly stories and some tales of Thailand. It's an example for you to see two people who are in great pain and made a choice to live a life true to themselves and to discover and hold on to what's possible for them with a death grip and make a lasting change that changed their life. Not one of, moving, like selling your house, moving to a new city, starting a new job, maybe a new diet or lifestyle, healthy change. No, this is a complete lifestyle change here. And we're not recommending that you do anything that they've done at all. We just want their story to be an example for you to change your beliefs around what's possible for you and your life. There are so many nuggets of wisdom, and we completely went off the questions and script and made this twice as educational, twice as fun, twice as powerful, and twice as long. So this is part 1 of the conversation. We hear how Annette and Daniel's rock bottom was happening right around the happiest day of their lives, and how much pain Annette was in before she made a complete life change, and kind of how she nudged Daniel to join in and completely uproot their lives. Annette discovered that you don't need courage to make a change in your life. You need something else instead. And it's definitely and probably not what you're thinking it is either. But I'm going to let her tell you that later in the episode. And there's just so much I wish I could hint to right now, but let's just get into it instead. So Annette and Daniel created Chase for Adventure and now travel the world and bring us along through their YouTube channel, blog, and personal guided tours every year. Well, I guess I'll just get started. And it's so awesome to be able to talk to you guys right now. Where in the heck in the world are you?
So we are in Krabi, Thailand. It's probably our favorite place on the planet.
By probably, he means absolutely our favorite place on the planet. Actually, funny story about that. We were on Railay Beach. So in the province of Krabi, there's this absolutely beautiful coast. You have to get there via a longtail boat because there's like this giant cliffside. It's like 1,000 feet tall. And so it cuts away this bay away from the rest of Krabi. Girl, we went 6 times in the last month. I told Daniel, we went to go watch the sunset on Railay West, which we've seen now 1,000 times. And I'm sitting there and I'm like telling Daniel, I feel like if heaven existed, this would be it. I feel like I'm living my heaven in real life right now. I had to tell God, and he was like the architect of like my paradise. It would be Railay Beach at sunset with all of these enormous cliffs around me and the sun setting behind the islands, drawing like this beautiful silhouette, cotton candy skies, monkeys that you could hear swinging from tree to tree in the cliff sides. Oh, most beautiful place in the world.
I really, you have sold me on Krabi and Rayleigh. I am going, and I cannot wait. It's gorgeous. I've seen your pictures. It's insane.
I'm literally obsessed. Daniel and I have even started looking. Don't tell anybody. I mean, I guess it's on the internet now. Tell everybody. Call my mom first thing. Okay. We started looking for apartments. As a matter of fact, I did tell my mom, and she hung up the phone. It was funny.
Okay, so then family can come visit you, right?
Listen, girl, I've been trying to get them to come visit, but my parents, my dad's fine. My mom is really terrified of airplanes, and my sister even so. And so to tell them, hey, by the way, you know, it's only 36 hours away. That's going to be a tough sell.
Well, compare it to a boat trip. Say you could take a boat, but you're going to have to navigate, you know, tsunami waves, and it's going to take you like a month to get there. So then she'd be like, oh, the plane doesn't sound that bad.
Yeah, right. Just give it to her in comparison.
That's actually a great idea.
I absolutely be like, hey, I found this boat for you, Mom. It's going to be fine. You know, there's like a dinghy and some life vests, and it's only going to take like 2.5 weeks. You should totally come.
No big deal.
No big deal.
Only a month for the Coast Guard to find you.
Here's some Dramamine. Is that what the anti-nausea medication is?
Oh, no. Yeah. I've had to live on like meclizine and Dramamine when I had really bad nausea a couple of years ago before I found my gluten intolerance. And Dramamine makes me feel so ooky. I think I was on a boat once in California doing like whale watching for the first time ever. I loved it. There was this fog, gray whales, dolphins everywhere. I think I remember like sitting in my chair, like leaning against the boat rail, staring into the water, like I was on drugs or something. I was so out of it. I think it was worse taking the Dramamine. I'm not sure.
Oh, no. Okay, listen, I got motion sick for the first time ever. I'm not a motion sick person.
Yeah.
But we were on in a taxi in the Philippines where this guy is like swerving through the road for 3.5 hours. And I'm like, Daniel, is this what it feels like? I'm really hot. Is it hot in here?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. I'm like, welcome to my life.
No. I don't envy him at all. Motion sickness sucks, and I apologize for you.
Yes, I do get it a little bit. I'm usually like, okay, but I did feed the fishes on a mini boat tour in Puerto Rico once. It was the snorkeling. All the snorkeling was great, but then we went to this island that was actually in one of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, the one with Penelope Cruz and Johnny Depp. He left her on the little tiny island. So that water was so close to where we were snorkeling, like from the surface of the water, that I'm watching the ground come up and down towards me. And then we're sitting in the boats, like not moving, waiting for everyone else to get loaded up because we each had our own boat. And so like by that time, once we started moving, I was just like, I'm done.
Oh, you poor soul.
But it's totally worth it. It's totally fine. Oh, sounds like you guys have had some awesome, amazing trips. How long have you guys been traveling for?
So now we have been traveling for 1.5 years, which is like a total pipe dream to even be saying that it's been 1.5 years. I remember telling Daniel, we were sitting on like our couch in the living room of our old apartment back in Gainesville, Florida, where we're from. Well, where we lived our adult lives and got married and worked, etc. And I remember going like, you know what, Daniel, we're going to sell all of our stuff. And even if it only lasts for 1 year, that's fine, because then we would have at least traveled for 1 year. And here we are 1.5 years later, still planning out like the next 3 years worth of travel. It's the best feeling ever.
Oh my gosh. That is so cool. So you're in Gainesville, Florida about 2 years ago. What did life kind of look like before this travel, and where did all this start?
Okay, so it started, I was working as a manager. My parents then went through a really nasty divorce, and I was extremely depressed and suicidal. And after I went through all of my depression, I had suicidal ideation. I ended up on a phone call with the suicide hotline. And then I was obviously struggling at work because my depression was crippling. I was crying in the closet, and my boss would find me crying and give me a hug and then send me home. But after I told my supervisor that I had called the suicide hotline, so they let me go. And so after that happened, I went through this whole mental transformation, apart from the fact that, you know, I only wanted to kill myself more after that.
Right.
Because it's not just going through, you know, the depression and the shame that you just feel for being depressed and feeling so weak, and like you feel like your mind is playing tricks on you, to then be let go and then be told, oh, well, you know, now you're actually worth nothing. because now there goes my entire income. We were getting married in a few months. My family had totally fallen apart, which is why I had found myself with depression in the first place. Not talking to my sister, not talking to my dad, not talking to my mom, months before my wedding, now wondering how the hell are we going to pay for this wedding? So, long story short, I ended up getting another job after that, where I was a housekeeper for a preschool. And so I'm here with a college education. I got my bachelor's in science and psychology, cleaning toilets at a preschool. So I'm now working at a preschool as a housekeeper with a bachelor's degree in psychology, just sitting there going like, how the hell did my life end up here? And right after that whole fiasco happened, I had started looking for jobs abroad. And I'm like, you know what, Daniel, if working the safe job that I hated, and I still dreaded my alarm clock, and I felt like I had done all of the things that were right by the book, right? I went to high school, I got my 4-year degree. I went straight from high school to college and I got my 4-year degree. And then I got a career right after that. And then that didn't work. Even though I was making enough money, I was still not happy. I was still depressed. So if this entire linear path that people would tell me was the path to success, the path to happiness, was not bringing me either one of those two things, then what the hell am I doing with my life? So that's when I'm starting to go, I had studied abroad in 2015 in Italy, and it was the most amazing experience in my life. And I wanted to have more of that. And so that's when I started bringing it up to Daniel, starting planting little seeds, going like, hey, babe, the safe option wasn't safe anymore. We were making money and we were still not happy. Then why don't we just, chase happiness? At this point, we had already started watching YouTubers online and following their journeys through Thailand and all of these awesome places. And I'm like, these people use the bathroom exactly how Annette and Daniel do. So if these people aren't any more special than I am, why can they live the life that they dream of? And why can't I? So I started planting the seed, and then pass his microphone off to Daniel.
And then I was like, I'm marrying a crazy woman. No.
Your mom told you that.
No, my mom told me that.
Oh, no.
But no, I just wasn't sold on the idea. So after I had left my job, I had gotten a job running a couple emergency rooms, and it was what I was actually getting my degree for. So I was like, okay, like I'm finishing school online. I have the job that I want to end up with long term. And I was like, not about her. She was looking at jobs in Italy and like working at military bases and working in childcare and reception. And she was applying to all of them. And I was like, yeah, apply to them.
Then what?
I don't know what's going to happen if
you
we get accepted.
You were going to come with me.
I would have come with. It just would have been a real twist of the arm and like, okay, what am I doing?
Yeah.
But I think that changed after I had gotten that job, and then it was supposed to be max maybe 55 hours a week for my contract, and I was pulling like 60, 65.
Jeez.
And then my boss was getting upset with me that I wasn't working the 65 and being happy about it. Ended up giving me trouble taking the day off before my wedding.
Oh.
This is the kind of guy. Not to mention that there was a hurricane, just a little one named Hurricane that may or may not have destroyed all of Key West and landed in Naples. But no big deal. Got pissed that Daniel did not drive in the middle of this hurricane when the power went off in the clinic. I was the one who was like, hell no, you're not getting in the car right now. I don't care what your boss says. You can lose your job tomorrow, but you're not about to get hit by a tree.
Yes.
Yeah.
So anyway.
And so, yeah, that was the story. And then as soon as like my anxiety and depression kind of peaked from that job, it was like, okay, we got to do something different. And then our wedding day came, and it was the absolute happiest day of both of our lives. And it was just a day where we were able to focus on each other and like the love that we had, and our families were able to come together. And we were like, okay, we need to get this feeling all of the time. How are we not living life this happy?
And we also had been working jobs. Like for the amount of hours that we'd be working a week, you would think that we would have had enough money in the bank account to take a few days off after the wedding, but that didn't happen. We literally only took off the Friday, and that was because it was our wedding rehearsal.
Yeah, but we were also still paying off debt. I think we had $23,000 of debt at that time.
Yeah, clearly not a position to be buying one-way tickets to Bangkok and be like, screw it.
Yep.
Oh yeah, but then that's where it kind of gets interesting is that I ended up getting let go from my position. Literally,
but
what?
pause.
Oh wait,
Backtrack.
sorry, I'm jumping.
Backtrack. Before, so we get married, happiest day of our lives. Our families get married too because like everybody's there together. Happy, 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 super present. Sunday hits, and not only, and I don't think that this people talk about this after weddings enough. You go through like this process of like really high stress and high excitement building up for the day, right? And the day gets there and then you peak, and then the day after is like a crash. Almost like imagine that you're on drugs. I've never done like drugs like that, but I would imagine MDMA is sort of like this, where you're just like happy, 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 and then Sunday's all normal, and you're like, but what happened?
Yeah.
Everybody was here yesterday. So then we decide we were not happy. I was depressed. I was having a panic attack. So was Daniel, because we had to go to work on Monday. And so that's when we had this like moment where it's like, I can't do this anymore. I can't live this life anymore. I am not happy. I want to feel exactly like I felt on my wedding day every single day. And we were now working separate jobs. We used to work together and share a car. And I loved being next to my husband 24 hours a day. I know this is not the common thing. And I know some people are going to be like, wow, those two are delusional and codependent. But you want to know something? We're really happy the way that we are. And just thinking of spending so much time apart from one another. And anyway, I can go on and on. Point is, at that point, I'm like, you know what, Daniel? We were watching a video of Lost LeBlanc. He's like one of these travel vloggers, and he's Canadian. And we were just watching a video of him saying that he left Canada with $5,000 in his bank account, 1,000 subscribers on his YouTube channel. And he's like, I'm just going to sell everything and I'm going to make it. And he did within 6 months. And so I looked at Daniel, and we had been like, okay, how long would it take us to save up for a year's worth of travel? We tabulated, everybody's saying save up $40,000 a year. I did the math. It was 3 years of saving.
Yeah, no, it was horrible.
Okay.
Literally my heart sank. And I looked at Daniel and I'm like, a really easy way to make all of that money would be if we just sold everything we had.
And we were like, okay, so how much money if we sold everything? Like looking at our cars, all of our furniture and all that. And then we did the math and we were like, okay, we can manage that if we moved into my parents' house. My mom has offered that before. So let's start selling everything and talk to them. So we put the 2 guitars that were on our wall up, and we were like, if these sell, it's meant to be. And literally within 3 hours, both of the guitars sold, and we were driving to like opposite sides of town to go sell them to people
at the same time.
Yeah.
Nice.
And we were like, oh my God, we're really doing this.
Yeah, and I think it was like crazy because the guitars, I mean, this is so stupid and so trivial, the thing that we decided to sell, but it happened to be like the decorations. The 2 main centerpieces of our living room was our TV and our 2 guitars. So the moment that those 2 guitars were gone, it was like, the living room looks so empty.
Yeah.
And we were riding on a high. If we got infected with the bug, we're like, we're selling all of it tomorrow. And so that's exactly what we did. Immediately, we started posting everything on Facebook, selling everything we owned. Our cars went next, actually his truck. We started sharing cars for a while. We went to his parents' house, and his parents then offered us to stay. I think it was under the pretense so that they could change our mind and we would use the money that we'd saved to buy a house.
That's fine.
It worked. Listen, we're super duper grateful. If they're listening to this podcast, and if they've listened to any of the other podcasts that we've been, we're super duper grateful. Thank you, Mom and Dad, for letting us live in. We were able to save tons of money and pay off debt. And we're so grateful because now we're living our dreams thanks to you.
Hooray. Yeah. Parents are the best. I swear, parents are the best. So it sounds like you had this moment that you just knew that change was a must. And you hit this pain threshold, but it came after like one of the best days ever, your wedding day. But yeah, so there's just that moment where you knew change was a must. It wouldn't be nice someday, like it has to be now. And so you knew that you kind of wanted to travel and have this, I guess, eternal honeymoon wedding day kind of thing. So that was already good. You kind of fell and knew into what you wanted to do and change. I guess my biggest question is, you had this vision and you felt the pain, but where kind of did that courage come from? Or how did you know exactly how to take action or the steps? Like, just there's this big gap between like, I know what I want, but like, how do I get there? And how do I get that consistent courage to get there?
Now, here's the biggest thing, Monica, that everybody says. They like to phrase it as courage. And I always correct people because it's not courage, it's desperation. You mentioned how there's a point when it's not nice anymore. It's a need. At the point that you're at that need level, it's not courage that's taking you. It's, if I don't do this, I'm going to kill myself.
Yeah. That would be desperation. That is rock bottom. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think that that's the point that it hit for me. As a matter of fact, I knew where I needed to be back when I was suicidal, back in March, when I had made the decision, okay, well, I don't want Daniel to walk into my brains on the floor. Sorry to be graphic. Yeah. So I'm either going to choose to continue fighting for my life and live it in a way that I am being grateful and kind to myself. And as a matter of fact, I think of my 8-year-old self very often. And that's something that I write about on my blog. That's something that I've mentioned on YouTube videos, is if I had to go back and tell my 8-year-old self that I was working some deadbeat job, having somebody else tell me what to do, telling me that I couldn't take days off on my birthday, that I wouldn't be able to spend time with my husband or the people that meant the most to me, she would be crushed. How do I live a life that pays homage to that little girl that was sitting down dreaming of a life better than the one that I was living for so long because people told me that that was the right thing to do? And so it came from a point of desperation and not courage. And that's what I wish more people would take. It's have a burning desire for something, a burning desire, because that's going to ride you more than like, I think I'm just going to do this. Because if you're going to wait for all of the circumstances to be perfect, and this is actually for life circumstances in all walks of life, whether you want to become an entrepreneur or, you know, sell all of your stuff to travel the world or even being a parent, those are all decisions that you can't half-ass. You don't go like, I think I want a kid and then have unprotected sex and come out pregnant. You don't like make those decisions half-heartedly. You know what I'm saying? You don't like sell one car and one guitar, but then keep all of your clothes. If you're trying to sell your stuff to travel the world, you have to commit to a decision, and that is scary. Yeah. And the thing with courage, it's about being terrified and doing it anyway, not, you know, suddenly having this like sudden boost of confidence that everything is going to work out. Yeah. So for us, go ahead. Sorry.
No. You framed that perfectly, because it is the pain. All of these different steps and changes that I had drastically made in my life, it wasn't because, oh, it would be really awesome, that would be pleasurable, like nice and dreamy. It was because I was in so much pain that doing something scary or insanely hard was less painful than continuing with where I was. So
you preach, girl. That is, I couldn't have said that better myself.
Awesome. So did you ever need to know, or did you ever have this feeling that it was inevitable, this was going to happen? You just knew it? Or was it like, I'm moving forward towards a goal and I just feel better doing that?
Okay. So it was definitely moving forward as traveling full-time was going to happen. Okay. It wasn't an if it happens, if we get enough money. It was, we are going to set a date and we're going to stick with it. And actually, as soon as we set the date, that's where my story earlier was going to come in. Because 2 weeks after we set the date and bought tickets?
And bought one-way tickets.
We bought one-way tickets. We were through selling almost all of our stuff. And now it was about time to hunker down, save money, and keep going. I got let go.
Danny was making $50,000 a year. And that was the money that we were counting on to save up for this trip. So
yeah. And so after that, I just scrounged for jobs, like talking about having a goal and doing whatever it takes to get there. Actually, looking back, I to be honest, this is the first time looking back on that. I did everything. I became a handyman. I became a babysitter. I became a bite squad driver. And then I started working at Publix
as a stock clerk.
Yeah, stock clerk, working like 3:45 in the morning till like noon, and it was
both of us working opposite schedules. I was babysitting too, and I was working my full-time job and trying to make Chase Your Adventure happen, because from the beginning, whenever we had seen all of these YouTubers doing it, this wasn't like oh, well, you know, let's just do this and whatever happens, happens. It was like, no, this is going to happen because we are way too driven and too hardworking and too awesome to not make this work. End of story.
Yeah. And the thought process was like, we're very entrepreneurial people. And it's like, okay, all of these people fell into it by accident. What happens if we go at it with a plan and a purpose?
Ugh, yes. You make it. That's the answer.
Sorry. You guys are so awesome. That is such a huge leap of faith. And it sounds like you guys just put in, like, you had unwavering faith. Unwavering faith, you knew this was going to happen, and you're just willing to put in the extraordinary effort to get there, but not in this, like, oh, I have to work hard now to have this goal, you know, and once I make it, you essentially were kind of starting to live the life a little bit before you guys started doing some videos before, right? Like before you guys even left.
Yeah.
So
We had just figured we had time to put the show pony up and go
Yeah.
from there.
no,
Like we
yeah,
just
but
wanted to get started.
living into it before like waiting for, oh, we should only start doing video or being this way or practicing once we are traveling. Essentially, it sounds like you guys just went full in and like, here's the practice. Like, this is who we are going to be now. This is who we are.
Also, something that I talk about because I'm a motivational speaker back home, something that I tell all of the high school classes that I speak to is you are what you market yourself as. You are not a YouTuber until you publish one YouTube video and you start calling yourself a YouTuber. You aren't a motivational speaker until you ask a teacher to let them speak in your class, and now you're a motivational speaker. You are what you market yourself as. Like you, Monica, you weren't a graphic designer until you designed your first graphic, contacted your first client, and got your first gig.
Yep. Absolutely.
Would they have hired you had you not told them that you were a graphic designer? If you would have told them, well, I kind of sort of design graphics on Canva, do you think that they would have hired you? Hell no.
Yeah. It was so awesome. And I think speaking to that, I had a background like as an artist, and what I saw, kind of like I think what you guys saw, was like a video of these two girls floating in like the waters of Bali. I have yet to get there. I'm coming soon. But yeah, and they're like, oh, you can work remote, all these different things.
Bucket list bombshells.
Yes. And they're awesome. But yes, so I watched that and they said anyone can do graphics and design, yada, yada. And I'm like, wait. And this is like my security blanket. And I don't really talk about this a whole lot because I don't think that we should look for one. But mine, because I was so afraid, was, okay, I'm an artist. Like I've sold like little bit of artwork and I've done jewelry, I've done shows, but I also have used Photoshop for over 7 years. I use Adobe Illustrator at my job. And I'm like, if anyone can jump in and do this, but I have these special gifts and talents, like if anyone can make it, then I have, like, I'm sure I'm going to make it. It's like, just guaranteed, it's inevitable. I just have to like figure out the, gap in between. And I know that some people just like would say that that's crazy and they're so proud of me and that's amazing. And it felt that way at first, but then it just felt natural to me. But what you guys do, I think people are going to say like selling everything you own, traveling the world, getting on video and talking all the time. Like that's radical. That's crazy. I could never do that. I hear people say it all the time. Like I could never do that. Even when I talk about eating gluten-free, yada, yada, or the certain way I eat, they're like, I could never do that. And I just bet that people are hearing your story and thinking that right now. What would you say to them? What would you say to them about that?
I would, you may want to edit this out, but I would say that I kind of want to slap them, honestly. When people say, okay, here's actually the thing. Not that I want to slap them, but a lot of people, we more so get the people who tell us that they wish they could do what we're doing. And that actually infuriates me.
Yeah.
I would rather someone tell me exactly, like I could never do that, than tell me that you wish you could and then give me 72 and a half excuses as to why you won't.
Yeah.
Because it's not whether you can, it's you won't. It's not, whether you should, it's you don't want to put in the effort. You don't want to put in the work. It's too big a sacrifice. It's too difficult. And if that's not where you're at right now, well, then you don't want this bad enough.
Yep.
And that's what I say to those people. So to the people who say that they could never do this, you're right. You probably could never do this. If you have that mindset and you don't think that you could leave home and that you can be apart from your family members, I really don't recommend that you live this lifestyle. If you can't live out of a backpack and lose some of those comforts, you can't live this lifestyle. Now, and here's the other thing. Every lifestyle that you choose, Monica, and audience that's listening, comes with with benefits and sacrifices. Being back home, you have the security blanket of getting a paycheck every 2 weeks. You can see your family when you want to. You have your cashier at Trader Joe's that knows you. You have that same barista at Starbucks that like looks at you and starts making your coffee. I don't have that. Every time I enter a new country, I have to go on Google Translate to figure out how the hell to say hello or how to say, where's the bathroom?
Yep.
I don't have a barista that recognizes me. Now that when we're in Thailand, obviously we can communicate a little bit more and we do have people who recognize us, but that's after building community places. When you're moving around all the time, you don't have that. But now I will say I get to see some crazy scenery and waterfalls and beaches and cliffs and monkeys and elephants. And I get to live a life. I feel like I live a lifetime's worth of memories for some people in 2 months.
Yes.
And it's hard to even go back home and tell my friends and family when they go like, oh, how's life been? I have to go like, fine. Instead of like, oh, I went jet ski island hopping in Malaysia last week. And then we went and climbed this crazy waterfall through the Thai jungle. And I saw like monkeys swinging from tree to tree. I saw them stealing something out of a lady's bag, because it feels like you're bragging.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So that's what I say to those people.
And I think it's not a slap. I know exactly what you meant as soon as that, like, it's like a wake up shake. Like you kind of want to grab them and shake them. Like even when it comes to something simple, like I couldn't eat the way you do. Like you just kind of like want to shake them and you're like, why? Why do you think that? And it's not you can't, it's you won't. I completely agree. And whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. And I think that was Henry Ford.
Winston Churchill, he said that, or some.
I think it was Henry Ford, and if I am wrong, right. Annette said it too. And it is Annette. But oh my gosh, seriously. And I think it's kind of like one of those kind of up slaps on the backside of the head. It's like a loving gesture. It's like you shake them, kind of slap them upside the head, but like hug them and be like, you are so powerful. It is the only thing that's holding you back is you and your mind. It's the stories we tell ourselves. It's the thoughts that we have, the words we use to describe our life experience and ourselves. I so struggled with self-love for a very long time. I didn't think I was smart. I didn't think I was capable. I thought if I could just find one person who would, love me enough to marry me, like that I was lucky, and it didn't matter who that person was. I did the same thing. I chased like what I thought was going to bring me success and happiness. And that was, I need to have the secure job. I need to have the new construction home. I want the, 350Z in the driveway and all these things. And once I had all of them, I was severely depressed, had horrible anxiety. I was hurting myself. And I had gone through anxiety and depression as a kid, 17 to 18. I think I was hospitalized like 3 times for it. And so it was all coming back. And I'm like, I have like what I thought was the perfect life. How is this coming back? And it was because I wasn't living a life true to myself. I didn't even see what was possible for me. I didn't explore my own passions. This is what I should want. And I just put security above all else. And so also, like you said about how everything has sacrifices. So many people say, oh my gosh, you work from home. You can set whatever schedule you want. They're like, I wish I could do that. The I wishing thing, like, I wish I could do that. And, like, I want your life, or I wish I had your life. And I'm like, it is not easy. It's not easy at all. You're so lonely. Like everything's on you. Like there's so many times I wish I could just like get in my car and go clock in somewhere. So like my savings didn't go down, or like I didn't go, so I could buy like salmon instead of chicken, or, something. But yeah, like saving up for the trips and everything. And it's just whatever you've made a priority in your life. And yeah, things can be so pleasurable, but until you're in that huge amount, massive pain, then you're going to essentially make that change. But yeah, so you guys travel the world and doing YouTube videos, but like, what do you do? What is your mission? What are all of your side hobbies? And passing off the mic to Daniel.
Yeah. So the whole goal of Chase for Adventure is to show people this big, beautiful world that we live in. We live in a world that is too beautiful, too diverse to not go out, experience, and really integrate yourself. There are beautiful people in every single culture that we visit. There are people that are willing to throw open their arms and accept us for who we are and just love on us. And you get that in every place. And so we're all a lot more similar than we are different. And I think that's a big way to look, at least the big way that I look at Chase for Adventure is you and I may look completely different, speak a different language. We may even smell different, but we're all human beings. We want love, happiness, and security.
Yeah.
And we want to be, I think, the YouTube channel that not necessarily the world wants, but the one that the world needs. I think that there is a lot of talk, especially, and we've even discussed like when we raise our kids, like where do we want to raise them? There's a lot of sensitivity in the Western world regarding diversity. And it's a really sad place for people who look and act and feel different. And we want to show people it doesn't matter where you are in the world. Just like Daniel said, we're a lot more similar than we are different. And so as far as like what we do per se, we make videos. I mean, if we're talking about logistically, we take people people through all of the different countries that we go to, but we also have a very different philosophy to the way that we travel. We travel ethically. We try and learn the language in every single country that we've gone to, which is now over 40. So as you can imagine, sometimes I'm trying to speak to people in Thai and I can't tell you how many times Vietnamese actually comes out of my mouth.
Oh.
I'm like, that's not delicious in Thai. It's aroy. You know, like, but because we want to showcase authentically all of the different cultures that are around the world. So that's what we do logistically on the YouTube channel. We also, going back to those people that we lovingly want to shake when they say, I wish I could do that. I relate. I was them at one point when I was working my, secure 9 to 5. I would see all of these YouTubers and wish that I could live the lifestyle that they were living with oodles and boodles of excuses, oodles and boodles of limiting beliefs that I had on myself. Well, I want to create so much information on the internet that they have no choice but to see the truth. So we teach people about how to become a digital nomad, and in a way that's transparent, in a way that's relatable, right? I have made videos of all of the amazing ways that digital nomad life has changed our lives and how it's opened our minds. But I've also created videos on why this is a terrible idea for some people. Why some people would go through the entire process of selling all their stuff and quitting their job, getting over here, and then quote unquote failing because they were chasing our version of happiness, not their version of happiness. So providing transparency about the lifestyle and then actionable steps to take that lifestyle if that's what you want. Here's 1,000,001 ways that you can make money online. Here's all of the ways to do it step by step the entire way. And then lastly, and this goes back to that purpose that we had of sharing that big, beautiful world with people, is we take people through tours of our favorite countries. And most recently, not most recently, Thailand has had our heart since the first day that we landed here. But taking people through Thailand and showing them that a country that is so violently different than what we're used to back home can be one of the most beautiful, fulfilling, rewarding experiences of our life. And I think I was telling you a little bit about this before the show. I thought that Thailand was China. I know that sounds really ignorant, but I had no idea where it was on the map, how kind the people were. I didn't know what the cuisine was. And now I'm here.
We knew the hangover.
Yes, which is not what it is. Yeah. There is a side of Bangkok that's like that, but I could also tell you, there's a side of Miami Beach that's like that. Don't walk there at nighttime. But really wanting to share people, like, look at a religion that's so different from Christianity. Look at a language that is so different from English. Look at a cuisine that is so different from burgers and fries, and a family that is so different from the individualism that we have in America. And look at how loving and respectful and beautiful this country can be. A lot of people will go like, oh my gosh, but that you can't drink the water in Thailand. And it's like, and what do you think? These humans just didn't figure out how to get normal drinking water? There's water bottles and refill stations everywhere.
Yeah.
Oh, but that some of the toilets are squatty potties. It's like, yeah, you'd be surprised what you'd adapt to if you had no choice. So anyway, those are my 2 cents.
Yeah. The one thing I will add is in regards to teaching others how we actually live the digital nomad lifestyle. I think we're going to be relaunching our course Worker to Wonder later on in 2020. So that way we can give people all the actionable steps that we went through ourselves. And we experienced it. We went through and we did working holiday visas. We went through making money online. We went through selling all of our stuff, buying one-way tickets, learning how to travel full-time, learning how to pack for living on the road. All these details that you just don't really think of until you sit down to do it. And you're like, oh my God, I'm overwhelmed.
It's basically like moving to a foreign country. That's what it is.
You are, yeah.
I haven't lived. But that's what it is. And a lot of people don't realize everything that goes into that. Like, if you wanted to live in Thailand for 3 months, you can't just show up to Thailand and not get a visa. You have to tell your banks back home that you're going to be traveling, or if not, they stop your bank account and they stop your credit cards. And not to mention all of the minutiae, how to sell your stuff. I was so overwhelmed. You'd be impressed with the amount of crap that you have in your house. Yeah. I had 20 bottles of lotion from Bath and Body Works. Totally unnecessary.
That store's evil. The soaps. I used to have 12 of the soaps for sure. Yeah. I finally used them all.
Buy 3, get 3.
Yeah.
But you want to do that every 3 months.
You get
come out
30.
with a new scent.
Oh, that's awesome.
Eventually you're like giving lotion, please take this lotion.
Yes, no kidding. Like
house.
I smell like 20 different things because I keep wearing them all and they're piling up on my, Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Yeah, I practiced a little bit of minimalism and I think that was one of like my journeys of just like how much of a burden all my stuff was. And so people will like go in my closet. My aunt went in my closet once and was like, I can't believe this. I've never seen a closet like this. Like I have like of like clothes and I have like a kid's little tiny dresser, and she's like, this is amazing. Another thing people say, like, I could never do that, but like to each is their own. Minimalism is whatever you need it to be, but you guys were living and experiencing like the minimalism for sure.
Okay, literally, Daniel's going to tell you about how much we own, and I'm going to show you the backpack.
Oh,
okay.
Goodness. Okay, so while she's getting
see it.
while she's getting the backpack and knocking over water bottles. No, so everything we own fits into a single travel cube. The only reason we have all of our items spread between two backpacks this size is because we just make it look small for traveling carry-on only, because everything we own travels carry-on only.
It fits in this, all of it. This is one 55-liter backpack. This is my house. This is my toiletry bag. This is my medicine cabinet and my shoe closet and my actual closet and Daniel's closet and everything else beyond that.
It's amazing. That is so crazy. Oh my gosh.
Durable too. You'd be surprised.
Yeah.
That thing's never broken.
I definitely expected that to be bigger. That was not as no. I think
honestly
even for me.
Girl, we giggle because we see people whenever they're traveling and they'll be here probably for like 2 weeks. And obviously, we used to do the same thing. We would go on a week cruise and pack like we were moving to. Honestly, now, even if I was moving somewhere, I wouldn't take more than a 55-liter. But these people are carrying like 75-liter backpacks times 2. It's the girl with the 75-liter backpack. The backpack is literally bigger than she is. The guy. And then they have like bags on their arms and you see them like hobbling to their taxi. I'm like, you poor souls. What do you even have in there?
Yeah.
Yes. No, I get it. Again, that goes back to those sacrifices that you make for the lifestyle that you want to live. Once the pain threshold exceeds, you don't give a damn if you can't have books anymore. You don't care if everything has to fit in a backpack and now you're like constrained to carry on sizes. Big whoop. I could never go back to working for someone. Now, for sure, I would be a terrible employee. I don't like people telling me. Daniel could vouch.
Yeah. I'm like, no, actually, I don't really want to do that right now. I'm going to go take a nap. Or hold on, wait, I have to have my juice at like 1:00. Wait a minute. Or I'm not done working out yet, so I'm going to be late.
Yes. Those things wouldn't work. Like, for example, yesterday, and given we're in the middle of launching our Thailand tour. So the last few days, and actually you touched on this, one of the sacrifices of being an entrepreneur is that you don't clock out. There's, I can work until 9 p.m. and sometimes I feel guilty if I don't work until 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. And you're never off, right? And it's your business and your baby, so you want to see it do well. So you're like up at night going like, oh my God, should I add one more email to the sequence? Or should I add another freebie? Or Daniel, how are we going to help these people do laundry in Thailand? Like all of these things that like go through your head. But yesterday was my birthday. And I was like, you want to know something? I ain't working today. Yay! I'm going to take a nap because it's 1:00. I'm 25. I have my own business and I freaking can. How about that?
That's awesome. The first time I think I had my birthday off was a month after I quit my corporate job and I was turning 32. So yeah, I quit my job and a month later I was in Mexico on my birthday. And it was like, one of those moments where it was just like life-changing. Like I don't want to ever not have this again, kind of thing.
Exactly.
Oh, but yeah, your Thailand tours are awesome. And the course sounds great because just like how I had stepped into mine without having someone to like kind of show me what this looks like or what's even possible or navigate it, my fear would have overwhelmed me and I wouldn't have taken action on some of my big things. Even with being consistent in like my fitness journey, like if I just, I get fit by going to the gym or running until I started taking like courses or doing like the, Beachbody videos and finding what I actually loved. could I actually see it as possible and do it on my own and make it consistent? If not, I'd just been flying off the handle. I'd go to the gym, I'd do this random thing. I wouldn't see results. It'd be crazy. So having something to follow, like a blueprint, a plan, is so insanely valuable. That is the only way, I think, from learning and leveling up each time, of how I've been able to make all of these changes in my life. So I think that course is amazing, but I love the idea of your tours, because even for someone like me, like I've done some out of country traveling. I haven't done anything like on the other side of the world. I've done like Caribbean and Mexico and stuff, and I can't wait to get over there. And I really want to join you guys. I'm so hoping that I can do that very soon. But with the tours, like having someone there to like, here, I'm going to meet you at the airport. You don't have to worry about a thing. And normally when I travel, like I go to one place and I'm kind of like stuck at like one resort, and like that's fine. But like trying to figure out how to plan and navigate a trip like through Thailand, like from the bottom to the top, like you guys are doing. Oh my gosh, like to have it all planned out, and just I see it as totally possible. All I have to do is these few things, and you guys are there to answer questions like every step of the way, and figure out like food things, like my gluten intolerance, like anything at all is taken care of. There's someone there. Like I totally see it as being possible. So people who are maybe afraid of like this world travel or solo traveling, I think these tours are like the biggest blessing, and I'd be so excited to join you guys. So you're doing Thailand in 2020, right?
Yeah, so we actually
Okay.
opened up 2 tour dates this time, because so many people were like, Annette, I would so love to go to these tours, but it's too short notice. I can't take off work. So we've opened up tours for November 2020, actually a year from yesterday. So November 9th until the 22nd. So they get to celebrate my birthday with me. And and that's part of like our mission, right? Sharing this big, beautiful world with people and making it accessible.
Yes.
I know that was something that I was freaking out when I first came to Thailand and landing in Bangkok. I'm like, I don't speak Thai. I didn't even know they spoke Thai, to be honest. I didn't know, like, do you grab a taxi from the airport? I've heard you had to negotiate, but what's like the right price to pay for a taxi? And like Bangkok's huge. Where do I stay? What is there even to do in Bangkok? Like, and we have to do this all the time. You have to imagine we travel from country to country. So we're used to having to look up like what to do in Taiwan for 4 days. Or
It's a skill.
Yeah.
Yes.
But here's also the thing, and like some people have asked us for future tours if we're planning on doing in other countries. And I think the goal eventually is to say yes. But right now, there's no country out there that I feel like home in. I feel like when people come to Thailand, I have no fraction of a doubt. Like I can tell you exactly where to grab a taxi. I know how to get to the airport, how much I should pay at the airport. I know exactly where to take you, where to stay, what places to eat, all over the country. It's not even like we stayed in Bangkok. We lived in Bangkok. Then we lived in Chiang Mai. We've lived in Krabi. We have seen every corner of this country, and by motorbike. So we've been able to stop in all of these like tiny little towns and villages and really experience Thailand. Not the Thailand that people show in movies, not the Thailand that people go to Phuket. That's the toilet bowl of Thailand. Christ. Why does anybody go
I had saved a Pinterest board about Phuket.
Oh no!
I know. I'm going to delete that board. I've made a new one with Krabi and Rayleigh now.
Yes,
and Chiang Mai as well.
I was just gonna say we went there and it was not the greatest.
Okay.
But Thailand is one of these places that literally will take your breath away at every corner. And now that we're leaving tomorrow and going to India, we're super excited for India.
We are
So excited. But like it breaks my heart leaving a place that feels home. And a place like this. And we've met so many people in all of the different places that we actually have scheduled on the tour, but that we've lived longer term, and we still maintain those relationships. Like we show up to Pi, and I won't stay at we don't stay at the hostel because we look for a private room, but we'll show up to a guy's hostel that we'd stayed at, Leo, and we'll be like, Leo, what's up? And he's like, Daniel, Annette. And then we just like, we'll swing by at least once a day and have a conversation, may go out for drinks. Like, it's the community is amazing here.
And again, it goes back to just being so passionate. And it's crazy. I have never been in a country, especially a lot of people have concerns about being a female and traveling. I have never been in a country where I feel so respected by both genders. No creepy people here, men or women, that stare you up and down and make you feel uncomfortable. Girl, I'm telling you, I've walked the streets of Bangkok by myself at nighttime, obviously everywhere with good judgment. but there has never been a country that I have felt so safe in, that I know that with my eyes closed, I can point at something in a menu and know that chances are it's going to be pretty delicious. It's healthy. Like every meal that I have is full of like vegetables and the sweetest fruits. And it's made by like this old woman who's been cooking in her kitchen her whole life. Like, I love how authentic and untouched and almost innocent the culture is here. You see the kids here and they're playing in the street. They're running amok at 7-Eleven. They're at the beach catching crabs. It's just the most simple, authentic life here. And like, I even bug my mom and dad all the time. I'm like, guys, I really want you to come here. Like, get over the flight. You have to realize, like, no offense, but your grandchildren may be here at one point.
Yeah. I was just thinking that too. I'm like, I wish I could relive childhood there, and to raise kids in a place like that. Like, that just sounds amazing. Oh,
so honest, so sweet. I just love Thailand.
Yeah,
I love Thailand.
Well, you totally sold me on it. I already had it on my list, and you guys just go crazy hearing about all the stories and the different amazing things. But I can't wait to hear about India as well. My aunt used to travel to India. They had like a monastery and stuff that they would go visit there. And so I have like 3 different Indian saris. I can't remember how to wrap them though. I need to learn how to re-wrap them. But yeah, so I have them. They're in my garage. I could actually like get dressed like that there.
Girl, then get over to India. What do you know?
I'm like, hey, I already got the clothes, right? So like, I'm good to go. I even have like, I think one of them, pink isn't necessarily my color, but it's like a wedding sari too. So. Like,
yes.
I can get all dressed up
to a wedding. There are people who are following us on Instagram. We get invited to 2 weddings actually.
Oh, they look so amazing. Like an Indian wedding sounds like, okay, lots of pictures. I can't wait to check that out.
I am so excited. Literally, the guy sent us a message via Instagram and he's like, oh yeah, just land at the airport here. We'll pick you up. You'll stay with the bride's family. We're going to hold you up at a hotel. Don't worry about anything. Just come dressed however. I'm like, excuse me, Indian wedding? Chance to dress up? I don't waste my money on Halloween costumes so that I can waste my money on a lehenga and look like an Indian princess for a month.
Oh, I can't wait to see you as an Indian princess.
Thank you. You made a mention actually earlier on the online courses and how, you know, it's really changed your life. And you want to know something? I listen to a lot of podcasts too. And I would listen to like Amy Porterfield or Jenna Kutcher and even Melissa Griffin talking about, you know, when you pay, you listen. You take this course, you have this blueprint, but when you invest in yourself in that kind of big way, you're going to take efforts to do it. Just like, you know, people who get a gym membership, $30 doesn't hurt. Now, if you spend $1,000 on a personal trainer, it's going to hurt if you don't go meet up your personal trainer.
Yep. Absolutely.
And beyond that, you're paying for that blueprint. You're paying to listen. You have now accountability on yourself. And beyond that, I mean, Monica, you and I are on this phone call because we both are in BBH. You know, we met in an online course that gives you the network of people who are like-minded and focus on building each other up in the same, not niche, because obviously we're in different niches, but in the same entrepreneurial desires and ventures. And that's what people are paying for in a course. I tell, you know, even Lucia and Melissa Griffin all the time, I'm like, I paid for that Facebook group 1,000,000 times over than even just the course.
Yeah. I think just meeting you and the communications that we've had, I'm like, it's totally worth it. All the value of the videos and the rest of the community, but I'm like, no, I would pay that again just to meet Annette.
Oh, you're so sweet. Well, know that the feeling is totally mutual, Monica.
I know. It's fantastic. But yeah, every single time, like I read books like crazy, but I've definitely mastered and made self-discipline like second nature to me. And I know that it's not natural, but so I can get results from books and those sorts of things, but I listen to podcasts all the time. But the biggest changes in my life have come from when I've made an investment. It can be small, a couple $100s or thousands. I just signed up for a new course too, and that one was like $2,000. And I immediately bought tickets to a $1,000 event right after because I'm just, you know, all doing it. Seriously, I know how much of a difference that has made in my life, and it seems like the more that it is, the more I get back from it, and it does pay for itself. They are technically free, like energy exchange wise. The amount of time, like your return on time, is insane. The amount of time it would have taken me to figure these things out, I would be 65 right now to be where I am now, to be where I am now, I would be 65 and probably so old people wouldn't even want to listen to me anymore or see me on video. But oh my gosh. And yeah, so the changes that they've made, I've been full-time at freelance for over a year and a half now. And just the levels of up level I've had to go through, or like, I can't even begin to describe it. But
you know, how many people waste all of that money on a college degree that they're using as toilet paper?
Oh, I don't even
I can raise my hand right now. Do I look like a psychologist right now? Hell no.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, don't get me wrong. It taught me work ethic, but did I pay 40 grand for work ethic? I could have spent that same 40 grand in 40 $1,000 courses in exactly what I wanted to do with my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And have all the answers.
Yeah. It's so crazy.
And you know, I say the same thing when it comes to travel. So many people, this is like common in psychology. One of the top regrets that people have in life is not traveling more, not seeing more of this world. And nobody is going to make it to their deathbed and going like, you know, I wish I wouldn't have traveled. Like that just doesn't happen.
I wish I didn't go to Thailand and love it.
Can you imagine? But beyond that, like the amount of life change that happens when you go and experience something so violently different, it shows you a world of possibility. I have met so many people who are digital nomads who are traveling the world just like I am. I am not cool in Thailand. Everybody else is doing the same thing that I am.
Yeah.
But even just growing that same network, I have met people who trade stocks and travel full time. I've met people who teach English and travel full time. I've met people who do odd jobs, work at hostels, sell jewelry, make jewelry on the side, who travel full time.
Yeah.
And it's just even the investment that you make in courses or travel, any investment that you make in yourself, in general, and whatever it is that you're passionate about is going to return tenfold, but you need to have the balls to do it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You just need to do it.
That is so crazy. As soon as I'm going to totally riff here and like go off topic completely, but we've just opened up this whole new realm of like the self-education, self-learning thing, because I was doing jewelry and art. Like I talked about, I was kind of selling paintings at shows and I was doing jewelry. And my first like store shop, it was actually in the mall that I was working in the management office of, this like pop-up, you know, holiday shop. You can have tables in there, all the local artisans. Like I was embarrassed of the jewelry I was making, like my displays. It's so bad. Like I don't want to rag on myself, but like I was doing it though as part of myself. I like didn't want anyone to see it or know that it was me, because I was like, I knew like this level. And I'm like, how do I learn like how to do this better? How do I learn how to set up displays? Like I'm artistic and I'm, you know, pretty talented, but I was still like sucking, you know, I was like, I need to learn this. How do I learn this? And I didn't even know what I was doing at the time, but this is the first time I'd ever experienced that. Is I bought like a book at the hobby store, but it didn't help me very much. So I went online and I found like this woman who's amazing at wire wrap jewelry. Like I found the best of the best, and she didn't even have like full courses. Like it was a tutorial to make one thing for like $9, $12. I learned how to make that one thing. And now I couldn't like duplicate or sell that. But the techniques I learned in making that one piece of jewelry, I could then make all my own custom stuff. I think I spent only like $30 some on some tutorials of hers. And I elevated my wire wrapping to a level of skill that I would have never learned on my own. And then like displays, like going to shows and doing expos and stuff. I'm like, my displays suck. What do I do? Oh, someone had an ebook. It was an ebook online of here's exactly where to go buy. Here's how to set it up. Like, here's the things that I use. And so I bought the bus. I bought, you know, the little, it had like trays with little boxes in them. Like I bought everything she had on there. She told me where it was the cheapest, how to set it up, how to price my stuff, you know, all of that for $60. So for less than $100, I essentially built a business. And I mean, it was a side hobby, and I would sit furiously working away, like, you know, making inventory all year round to like, you know, sell for the holidays. And I did that for a few years. And in 1 year, I was able to pay for like the concrete stamped and stained patio, like at our new construction house. And I mean, like it looked like stone. This thing was like, I don't even remember. It was huge, like gorgeous custom. Like I paid for that with jewelry. Like, so it really started opening up what's possible and creating all the branding for that. My flyers, my little cards, you know, my little own logo, that just opened up this other thing. I'm like, oh, I really enjoyed doing that. Maybe I could do that for other people, you know, just, but yeah, that's again, the whole investment thing. And
the journey.
Someone else's knowledge. Like, why would you have to struggle and make yourself go through the work of having to figure out all these things by trial and error which you might not even ever learn, or you can learn from someone who's already doing it and just skip all of that. Exponentially rocket what you're doing, whatever you're
Make
interested
money in 6 months versus not make money for 3 years because you are stubborn.
Yeah. If I hadn't had taken a maybe $300 online course, I wouldn't have been able to quit my corporate job within 6 months. My goal was to quit by the fall because there was no way I was going through another holiday season in an outdoor shopping center in the management office. Like I couldn't do it. I was like, by fall, this has to happen by fall. And all of a sudden I'm like, I just made enough this month that I could replace my income. And I can't stand it anymore. Like this pain is so great. And I'm like, I want to go in. So it was May 8th. So it was actually like 5.5 months, not even 6. So, but yeah, that wouldn't have happened without a course to show me exactly what to do. I would have been screwing around for a year, I'm sure.
And sat there miserable.
Exactly.
Sat there
No. Yeah. But seeing that growth gets your momentum. Like as soon as like I started getting little wins, or I completed that course, or I set up this one thing for my business, like that momentum just carried me through.
Yeah.
So,
but you also brought up a whole other point. We're just bunny trailing into all sorts of like entrepreneurship topics, but everybody starts from zero.
Yes.
You started jewelry making from not knowing how to make jewelry. Yeah. We started a YouTube channel from 0 subscribers.
Yep.
You started a graphic design business with you being your own client and the only client. Yep. You know, and I think people get so caught up, especially when we have so many platforms that allow us to compare ourselves to other people, that they're comparing themselves to someone's 5 years to your beginning. That is not fair. If you're looking at, the person who's been in business, if I was looking at Casey Neistat, for example, that's like our YouTube example, who has 12 million subscribers, I'm never going to get off and make my first video because how am I ever going to get like Casey? Well, Casey's been doing it for 12 years.
Oh, yeah.
I can't compare myself to someone who's been doing it for 12 years. You can't compare yourself to Marie Forleo, who's making $1 million right now because she's been doing it just longer.
Okay, it's break time. There were so many good takeaways and examples here. We seriously really got on a roll in the second half of our conversation, which is coming up next. I'm going to start off right away with telling you how to use envy and jealousy for good. So that's kind of where Annette and I left off in this episode, and we're going to talk about removing the gap of envy and longing for what others have and where they are to make sure that you live a life true to yourself and make amazing decisions that help change your life based off of that envy and jealousy and that pain you feel. Annette also has the funniest karaoke story I've ever heard. And if you listen into the end, you can visualize what it would be like to take a guided trip to someplace that might feel intimidating or out of reach for you. So if you also find travel scary or intimidating, but that's something you dream about, be sure to listen through to the end. Throughout this whole entire second half, we cover some high next level concepts and steps that we've both taken to level up every area of our life. So make sure to listen to part 2, which is episode 7 of the Flow State Freak podcast. If you've liked this episode, be sure to subscribe and follow on iTunes and Spotify. Leave a comment there and go find Annette and Daniel on Instagram at Chase for Adventure to see photos and see their awesome daily stories of where they're at and what goofy things that they're doing. And be sure to send them a DM and tell them that you heard their story on Flow State Freak podcast. I'm sure they would love to chat with you and answer any questions you might have.